Welcome back. I thought that while I still had my 3 cards out that I drew today from the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck, and after doing the reading, I thought this would be a very opportune time to discuss what I have been experiencing lately, which I'm going to dub spiritual withdrawal. And as many of you know, that lately I have not had time to dedicate to my spiritual practice. My any free time that I have is really taken up by the children, and or maybe mainly the baby, who's not so much a baby anymore. She's toddler-ish. But majority of my free time is her, and obviously my older girl. But by the time she goes to bed and everything, I'm literally wiped and I'm exhausted. And I just don't spend the time I would like to in regards to my spiritual practice. Yes, I do read books connected to spirituality, and but really and truly, there's no practice that I am engaged in at this time. And I feel the physical ramifications of that within this past, well, actually this has been going on more than just a month, but I've really noticed it or taken note of it this past month. I get lightheaded a lot more now, and I am spacey. It's very hard for me to concentrate and focus on a task. And I really feel it at work, which that connection is a whole nother connection that I may get into in this video. But I really feel these things more profoundly at work. But I just find it hard to keep on task. I feel spacey, or my grandmother would say flighty. I feel spacey. I feel that while I'm working on one thing, all of a sudden it's just I cannot focus on it anymore. And so I need to turn to another task, which does affect my work because then I have a bunch of things partially completed as opposed to fully completed projects. I I've been, I don't want to say more tired lately, but like exhausted, but not just a physical exhaustion, my my usually calm persona is heavily taxed, let's say, nowadays. Things that I might not typically blow up over, or it would take a long time for it to really affect me to the point where I'm just snapping. I'm like what I used to call my mom back in the day. I used to say she's like a dynamite with no fuse. Instead of a short fuse, she had no fuse. It's just like calm and then boom. But I don't know. And I've noticed that the more and more I let my spiritual practice wane, the more and more I feel these things. This is also right now, and this is also a very important thing to me, to try to work back into my spiritual practice in some way, even if it's like small things. But another thing that's going on in my life is with my eldest daughter. And she goes to this before and after care program here in this state or in this city that is ran through the YMCA. This is not a choice of mine. This is not what I would prefer for her to be. But through state funding, cuts in state funding and things like that, she cannot attend the before and after care at the daycare in which my youngest daughter goes to, where Same daycare my eldest daughter used to go to, and so she knows everybody there. They all know her. I like their mentality there. They are, I'm not going to say they're Christian based, but obviously, if they do practice anything pertaining to holidays, it'll be the Christian based holidays, but they are considerate enough to ask on the application, one, what kind of holidays do we celebrate at home? And one of their choices, and then you can also fill in whatever too, like another option, but one of their choices is that aside from Christian holidays or Judaism or Islamic or, Judeo-Christian religions, they also have, do you celebrate the changing of the seasons? And then another question they ask you on there is, is it all right for your child to be exposed to different religions through them? So like, okay, obviously I celebrate the changing of the seasons. Do I mind my children being exposed to Christian holidays and stuff like that? But they ask me, they don't overtly teach Christian holidays. So like when it's Christmas time, they're not saying, this is the day in which Jesus was born kind of thing. It's actually more secular, so it's more Santa, but the fact that I'm asked, the YMCA does not ask. And so they are currently indoctrinating my daughter into Christianity, and my husband and I absolutely cannot stand it. But we're left with no other options right now because they cut state funding. Their school buses no longer will bus children to other before and after care programs. So they're not going to bus them to like daycares that have before and after care programs. Only the YMCA will have buses. So my daughter's school was one of the schools that was added to that YMCA list. So we just take her to her school early in the morning, and she stays there for their Y Care program in the mornings, and then in after school until we get her. My problem is that they're teaching her about Christianity. So like at dinner time, she feels as if we have to say grace. Or, you have to say prayers. They don't call it grace. That's what I grew up calling it from Catholic school. But they feel as if they must say prayers before we eat. And I don't like that. I don't feel it's their place to teach my child about any religion, period. Unless you're going to do an overall cultural kind of, here, these are different religions around the world, and let's teach you about them kind of thing. But that's not what's happening. It's Christianity all the way through, and as if this is just supposed to be her way of life. And that is not what my husband and I want for our children. We want them to be autonomous and independent thinkers. We don't want them to follow a path that is not of their choosing. So what my husband and I have decided is that I'm going to step up as far as my practice goes, including my daughter in things. And like I said, I don't have much of a practice right now to speak of. So what we're going to do is we discussed it. And for the upcoming Sabbat, for summer solstice, now I say Litha, but I think for her, I'll call the solstices and equinoxes just as they are. And then the others I'll call, just as they are. But for the summer solstice, we are going to barbecue for Litha. And I already have a menu planned. And probably invite my friends, our friends, because they were friends first, my husband and her. But our friend and her children, she is also pagan. And she doesn't have very many pagans to celebrate with either, but she does go to a UU church. So she does have that connection. I was not a fan of the reverend of her UU church, so that's not a thing for me. But and I think I'll find some crafts or something maybe for the summer solstice for my daughter and I to do. And there's not much I can involve my youngest in yet because she's 18 months, but I'll see what I can find. I don't know. But I'm going to get her more involved in my path, at least so that she knows that there is something more than just Christianity, that there are other choices. And I'm currently looking into books for children pertaining to world religions. And I'm finding it hard to find one that also contains paganism in it. It doesn't have to necessarily be Wicca, but at least paganism. And I'm finding it difficult to find a book like that. So I'm currently on the hunt for that. Most of the world religion books that I found for children deal with Judeo-Christian religions, and they'll have Buddhism and Hinduism in there. Some have had Taoism in there, but other than that, I mean, there's no real like a section on paganism, so that's an issue for me as well. I do have some pagan workbooks and things like that for children, which she likes to work in, but we don't do much in it. So I think we'll probably step that up too. And see, my whole thing is, again, that falls into that trap of I don't want her just to decide on paganism or Wicca because that's what mommy is. I want her to know there are choices. She has choices. So over the summer, my husband keeps saying, today's the last day of school. So my husband keeps saying, I'm so glad today's the last day. We could start deprogramming her. We have the whole summer to deprogram her. But that's a big issue for me. I don't know if you other pagan parents go through this or have this problem, but I'm really like, I'm not used to this. In New York, I would have options as to where I can send my child if the schools were not busing them anywhere. There's different like school transportation services that's offered. There's public transportation. There's all these things that are options, but here it's not an option, and I don't like that. And it makes for a very closed-minded community, in my opinion, when the least amount of options you have. There is talk of them starting up again, maybe starting these bus routes again because they've come to realize how badly they've screwed parents over. Like parents had to pull their children out of the public schools. Some their kids have to walk to school, but they're walking on streets that have no street lights, over train tracks. It's bad, and it's like these are like elementary school children, and I'm not talking about like fifth grade or sixth grade. I'm talking about second grade and third grade children. They gotta walk. Some children, because they don't quite fall within that this radius map thing they have to walk a long distance. It'll take these kids about half hour, if not more, to walk to school every day. And I don't even know why this is an option. Why is this a thing? But anyways, so there's that. And as I made mention earlier, there's also the aspect of my job. My job has become so unfulfilling for me, and so it is a place that I don't want to be. I really don't. It's gotten so bad here to where no one is appreciated for what they do. Any little mistake you make, it's criticized. It's made this big thing, but you could do the most amazing work and no one will say boo to you about it. Even my position, I do a lot of program writing for the programs in my area. And the head of the committee, she's like, well, you should have gotten a raise for doing this, for having this added on to my job. And no. She's like, well, your job should your job description should be different. They should have changed it because that will make you eligible for higher raises. No. And they're not going to, because they don't understand, my bosses don't understand the work that goes into this. They don't understand how difficult it is to write the coding for programs. They don't know how much time this takes. They're not interested. They want to ask me to do more and more, which is not a problem, but understand that I'm also doing this writing thing. And now that a lot of our programs have had new degrees, I have to write the coding for that. It's anyways. Anyways. And this is not just my issue. This is issue across campus where I work at. It's just morale has sunk so low here. And every day I find that the majority of my lightheadedness happens at work. Like I could come in feeling fine and like half an hour here and I'm spaced. I'm dizzy. Like if I look up fat, it's spinning. And I know that I need to go. I do. My body is telling me I need to go. My mental health is telling me I need to go. The only reason why I'm here is because of my girls. And I want my child, my baby to stay in that daycare because they're amazing. And they totally prepared my older girl for school, and they do work with STEM program, and they're just very respectful. They're like a family. Every teacher there knows every student there. Students who are not even in their class, they know their names. They're very personable. They're very caring. My older daughter, graduated there 2 years ago, and one of her teachers still keeps sending home presents for her, leaving it in my youngest daughter's cubby there. She still keeps sending gifts home for her. And they're just amazing people. And I don't want to deprive my youngest of that experience as well. So my husband and I are talking over things and seeing what we can do and this job situation and what we can do about that. So, but as of right now, my only option is to continue working. So I'm going to try to incorporate my spirituality more. I've started carrying my spiritual journal with me again to write in. I haven't been writing in it since February, maybe. I stopped carrying it with me, and so, but I'm going to start doing that again. I just started yesterday, actually, working with the Psychic Tarot. And I think I'm going to work with this Oracle deck for a while. This is going to be the Oracle deck I work with. I am still working on learning the tarot, which is going to be a process for me. It's going to be slow, and that's fine. I don't want to rush through it. The book I was reading on that, I'm like, I really haven't been reading much. And I started reading another book, which I seem to be more into. But again, I don't get much time to read these days, so we'll see what happens. But at least these little changes, I believe, will help. So that's basically it. Thanks for watching, and blessed be.